better if they were twins.
That's true.
Stupid Kings. And welcome to Overtime, brought to you by KingsCast at www.kingscast.net. I'm Keith Korneluk.
And I'm Chris Kalaszewski.
And in the middle, the meat to the sandwich, it's Dennis Bernstein. Welcome back, my friend, from the fourth period.
Guys, there's no place I'd rather be on Thursday night in Los Angeles than here.
Goddamn right.
That's right. Tonight we're going to talk about the Boston game, talk about the Columbus game, talk about the little situation with Terry Murray getting fired, talk about the team moving forward, Dean Lombardi, John Stevens, Darryl Sutter. Lots to talk about tonight, Keith.
Here we go, episode 134, entitled Talking LA Kings Hockey or Los Angeles Kings Hockey with Dennis Bernstein.
All right, Kings fans, we're back with another episode of KingsCast here with Dennis Bernstein of the fourth period. Here to talk about, I think we should start with the biggest story to hit Los Angeles, and that is that Chris Paul is going to the Clippers. Okay, second biggest story, that Terry Murray was let go by the Kings earlier this week.
Now, here we go. Dennis, you and I text back and forth from time to time, some witty banter, and, you had said quite recently that Terry Murray was not getting fired, wasn't happening, Kings fans can't name a coach, which proves the fact that Kings fans are always
right, and
Dennis Bernstein is always
wrong.
Dennis Bernstein, your thoughts on that?
It's true. Absolutely. I didn't see this coming. I don't think anybody did, though. I think 2 weeks ago, if you'd said that Murray was going to get fired, it just wouldn't happen. They were, I think, sixth. At one point, I think they were even leading the division. And to see this turn around so negatively over 2 weeks has just been stunning. It's just the reversal of this team's fortunes, even before tonight's win. It was just absolutely stunning. I don't think anybody could have forecasted that. They were still well coached. They played good defense, and to me, defense is effort and coaching. So they're still a very good defensive team, but that offense, I don't know how you coach putting the puck in the net. I don't think Scotty Bowman knows how to put pucks in the net, but he's got, he had guys like Fedorov and Yzerman coaching to coach. So I just don't know what it's going to take this team to get going. If it's an injection of a new coach, either interim John Stevens or maybe Darryl Sutter down the line, if that gets him going, then Dean looks like a genius. But I don't know how to solve this team's offensive woes.
So, here's my thing, Dennis. A couple of weeks ago, Terry Murray said he wasn't a motivator. It's the team's job to motivate themselves. And I agree with you. I don't think it's a system. I think a defense-first system does win. I mean, Pittsburgh won. Mind you, they do have Crosby, Stahl, and Malkin, of course. But, how much of that is, the coach maybe lighting a fire? And not so much Terry Murray being a bad coach, but, getting out there and having that inspiring speech where, they go on the ice, they score 3 goals in the third period. I mean, how much of it is just that mental, coach being a motivator kind of thing?
Well, if Dean wanted a motivator, instead of hiring Mark Crawford, he would have hired Jordan Tortorella. Okay, so that goes away. Number two, if he wants a motivator, Darryl Sutter is not the guy. I'm sorry. He's going to make Terry Murray look like John Tortorella personality-wise. He's dry. He plays the same type of system, a tight defensive system. The last time he coached was 6 years ago with the Calgary Flames. They were third from the bottom in the West in scoring and first in defense. Does that sound familiar?
That sounds a lot like Terry Murray.
Yeah. So, and there's a lot of things just around this firing and this hiring. I mean, Dean didn't want to fire the guy. He said the team didn't tune him out. I don't get it. He was upset that he had to fire him. Well, he's the GM. What do you mean he had to fire him? I think part of this may be from ownership because there's a lot of pressure on this team, guys, to win this year. If they don't go in deep in the playoff run, and if, for God forbid, they don't make the playoffs, and Dean's looking at probably working somewhere else as well.
Oh, the marketing department, too. I mean, it's Kopitar time, it's Penner time, it's Richards time. I mean, it's time for what? To lose? I don't think so. I mean,
let's talk about that, Dennis. I mean, what is it, what's with the timing with this? I mean, why not later? Why not, after the holidays? Why not, maybe farther closer to the trade deadline? Why now?
Yeah, I don't know. And that's the one thing. If you look at the team last year, they were 500 in January, and then they went on that trip when the Grammys were at Staples Center, and they had that great winning streak on the road. They righted the ship. They made the playoffs. They lost in the first round, but I don't know what was this time. If anything, it's an indictment of the roster that Dean put together. He said that, basically some guys said they were dead, that the team, it's between the ears. Well, if it's between the ears, that means that the team's soft, and you put together a team that's not mentally tough when they hit a little bump in the road.
But has that ever really been a criticism of the Los Angeles Kings coming into this season? I know Dustin Brown thought that they could win the West. That's probably not going to happen at this point. But looking at it on paper, serious journalists and people who would never be journalists like us, and players too, never thought that there would be that kind of hole mentally on the team. is it really a mental issue? I mean,
I think it's a lot of overreaction at this point. There's so much guys, there's so much parity in this league. From 1 to 13, throw out the Ducks and throw out the Blue Jackets because they're bottom feeders now, but 1 through 13 is really not much difference. You look at a team like Minnesota, I think the goal differential is 10. Goals for and goals against, and they're in first overall in the West. So I think there's not much to choose about between these teams. And the Kings hit a losing streak of 4 games. It dropped them to 12th, or 13th. So I think the issue is that if they win 5 in a row and they're leading the conference or they're winning the division, was it a bad move? I don't know. I just think that it was an overreaction because there's a mandate from management and ownership to win this year. And Dean went on record that we've got to win this year. We've got to do well. That's why he went and got Richards. That's why he signed Gagne. All the master plan that he put together, it's not working out so far, but it's only 30 games in the season, so I just think it was so much pressure on him to just deliver a winner.
All right, so Dennis, the big rumor out there, well, it's not really a rumor, it's sort of almost a fact now, is that Dean Lombardi is going to hire Darryl Sutter to coach the Los Angeles Kings. Darryl Sutter, of course, coaching in San Jose when Dean was there. Dean fired him then. Darryl Sutter been out of the game for a while.
While.
Here's the thing.
6 seasons.
Exactly, but he's been out of hockey, period, tending to his farm. Not a pro scout like Terry Murray or Dean Lombardi was. Is Darryl Sutter still a viable option, and why are we going all in with Darryl Sutter? Because obviously, if we get out of the playoffs, Lombardi's gone.
Well, Dean's MO is to hire people he knows. It's as simple as that. I thought that maybe Tony Granato was also a possibility. I'm not sure Pittsburgh will let him go, but he played for Dean in San Jose. Jeff Solomon, who's a VP, their capologist, repped Tony Granato, so they're familiar with this guy. He knows him. Hey, look, Darryl's had a pretty good record in Calgary. He had 2 40-win seasons, but 6 years removed from a game that's very different now. I'm scratching my head, and I think the delay is not maybe that there's a compensation for his contract, which I don't know why Calgary wouldn't want to let him go from a contract that pays him over $1 million a year as GM, and immigration issues. Unless Darryl Sutter worked in Yemen the last year, he should get a visa, right? So
right.
I'm not
pretty easy coming from Canada.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
There may be a little bit of deflection here that this first choice may be not considering coaching for the Kings. I think just that disinformation that comes out sometimes when they're in the process. Like Bruce Boudreau, 48 hours, he was here waiting in a hotel for them to fire Randy Carlyle. It should be the same with Darryl Sutter. He should say, I want to get this team going. Let's go. I'll be in Detroit for Saturday's game. And now it's next week. I'm just not sure about it. I'm not sure about the commitment that you need to be a coach and be all in and just the travel involved. And it's a physical job to be, coaching every week and being on ice like that. So I'm not sure what the delay is, and I'm not really necessarily buying the reasons I'm hearing.
Is it possible that Dean's bluffing to go after another coach, or is that just me kind of channeling my inner Eklund?
No, Dean's a great negotiator. He could bluff. He bluffs with the best of them. He's a very smart, very stubborn guy, the GM. So anything is still possible until a guy signs a contract, but it's not adding up. There's just too many fishy things regarding how he was fired and why there's a delay. It doesn't look like Dean's got 100% all in on controlling these decisions that are being made.
Well, let's talk about it. Let's say the Kings do sign Sutter to coach the team.
Okay.
How do you think these players are going to sort of respond to his coaching style?
I don't think that the style is going to be any different. It's going to be a grind-out defensive game that you're going to be responsible. You've got the right team for that because that's how Dean develops and drafts. He wants responsible guys that come back on every shift, good guys, two-way players. Kings fans have heard it all before. God forbid a guy doesn't come back on one shift. You'll be benched for 3 games. So the style of this team fits that coach. That's his MO. That's how he's coached. That's how he was successful. He had one big superstar in Jerome McGinley in Calgary and a bunch of foot soldiers. Well, he's got a couple of superstars, and he's probably more superstars. He's got Kopitar. He's got Richards. If this guy can figure out a way to, like I said, get Doughty and Johnson going, then he's going to be successful here. I mean, he's done it before. It's just that time lag of 6 seasons is a lot, guys. So, but the track record's there, and if Dean's going to trust him, Dean's a very smart guy.
Speaking of Dean Lombardi, if we don't make, the playoffs, God forbid, or we're bounced in the first round, is that the end of Dean Lombardi as GM of the LA Kings?
You never say it's the end, but like I said, I've talked to a lot of senior management of the Kings. There's a mandate to win by ownership. They $63 million of payroll this year, and there's no budget this year, right? Go out and get these guys. Go out and make the trades. Go give Drew Doughty his money. Go sign Jack last year to an extension. Re-up Justin Williams. Ownership, from a fan standpoint, ownership has done everything they can to make this team a winner. Has Dean put together the right roster? I don't know. Apparently he didn't have the right coach, right? So now you change that. But I think there's one silver bullet left, and it's not Dean Lombardi's way, and that's a big trade. And we, on fourth period today, we mentioned Jack Johnson's got the right term, the right cap hit. He's 24 years old. If they need a scorer, they're going to have to go that route. And if they don't respond, let's assume Darryl Sutter comes in, and for 4 weeks they don't respond, and we're at the trade deadline, and they're 11th. They've got to make a trade as much. And Dean, like as we've said before, Dean Lombardi's great trade is to trade Jason Ward for a third-round pick. It's not a blockbuster. He didn't make the Joe Thornton trade in San Jose. He doesn't like doing that because there's some stubbornness around. He wants to go with his team that he picked to go to war with. But at this point in time, if they don't respond to a coaching change and they're sitting outside you got to make a big trade, and it's got to be bigger than Colton Tubert and a pick for Dustin Penner. It's got to be a major deal with somebody that's on an expiring contract or a team that falls out of the playoffs. People always talk about Zach Parise. I'm not sure that's the guy, but it's going to have that's that one silver bullet that Dean has left. And if he doesn't pull that out and goes with this team and they don't make the playoffs, I mean, the expectations were through the roof this year. So, of course, the GM's going to be in trouble. Is he going to be fired the day after the season if they don't make the playoffs? I don't think so, but he'll have a lot to answer to.
Last question, Dennis. If the Kings are at the trade deadline and they're, in 12th and it's not looking good, who is trade bait?
Or do we even go into rebuild?
It's funny. It's if you see guys like Jared Stoll and Willie Mitchell being traded because they have expiring contracts, there's your rebuild, right? And then there's components. Look, if Stoll was traded, Loktionov goes in that third center position, right? Slava Voinov. The reason we wrote the story about Jack Johnson is that Slava Voinov has emerged. He's an 18 to 20 minute defenseman. He had a tough game in Boston. Yeah, they got shut out there, sure, but he could plug in for those guys. So they've drafted and developed nicely. There are guys to fill holes, but I think at this point in time, if you see guys like that being traded, if God forbid somebody would take Dustin Penner on an expiring contract to free up some cap, you could get players back on longer terms if you give up these guys who are expiring because other teams want to free up cap space for free agency in the summertime. So there could be moves, but it depends on the player that's moved. If you're a serious contender, you're not trading Willie Mitchell at the deadline, even if he's going to become a free agent. You're going to stick with that guy. He's a great guy in the room. You guys have interviewed him. He's a solid defenseman. They need him if they're going to go deep in the playoffs. But if that guy like that moves, or a guy like Stoll, who's great on the faceoff, gets traded, and they're thinking that, wait until next year again. Hi, I'm Dennis Bernstein, senior writer for the fourth period, and when I'm not sitting in the press box, I get my tickets at barrystickets.com.
That's right, barrystickets.com. Best Kings tickets you can buy out there. Special sponsor of the LA Kings and KingsCast. No service fees, so you don't end up paying an extra $75 for $30 seats.
So here we go, Kings fans. Head over to barrystickets.com. Enter the discount code KingsCast25. Get 10% off already over the crazy rates. That's right, Barry's Tickets, sponsors of KingsCast. Hit those bitches up. Kings fans, if you've been listening to the music on this show, it's brought to you by the Graveyard Bandits. Check them out. We'll link them up on the YouTube and on the KingsCast page. Dennis Bernstein, thank you very much for being on the show.
Thanks,
once
Dennis.
again, we'll be right back at you next Thursday against the Anaheim Ducks. It's our Christmas special. Sorry, Dennis.
Oy vey.
So I'm Keith Korneluk.
And I'm Chris Kalaszewski.
Thank you for watching Overtime by KingsCast.